Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Brandon Groce, and I want to welcome you to Real Talk, brought to you by Editor X, the world's most powerful no-code web design platform for designers and creatives alike. Real Talk is a live show where we share with you exciting design, news, trends, career advice, and conversations with thought leaders in the space, entrepreneurs, agency owners, and more around no-code, UI, UX, product design, and the marketing spaces, and on top of that, so much more. If that sounds right up your alley, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can come back each week to get your daily and weekly dose of information. And also, if you feel so inclined, don't forget to like this video. It helps tremendously. So with that said, let's jump into today's conversation.
Crazy, everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and things can be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night. Two of less collisions still frozen tight. Spill a drink and skip it in the sound of her first child.
This is not the day.
Dreaming of those eyes, best part of my life.
All right, that should be, but holy cow, guys.
All right, you guys should be able to hear me now. Holy freaking cow. All right.
Tonton's he sucked out all the good stuff out of today. He's just taking all the good energy.
All right, you guys should be able to hear now. Basically what I said is me and Tonton were having major technical difficulties. I forgot to hit go live on YouTube, and then I also forgot to change my mic settings. So we're here now. We're about 20 minutes in. Nobody has seen any work, so we're going to fast forward into bringing Tonton on stage. But I also want to say thank you guys for letting me know about the no sound, and we'll dive right into things. But I also want to say welcome to all of you who are watching live and those who are watching the replay. Let's bring Tonton on the stage, man. All right, don't hate me, Tonton. I know that was like 20 minutes of just like painstaking sadness.
So, and to everybody that's coming here, if this is your first time, this is not our first time. So you would think we'll have this down by now, but apparently not. But I would say though, I would say he is recovering from some, he's been sick, so let's take it easy on him. So I'll blame that on the sickness that he's been dealing
I
with.
get all the blame.
Yeah. So, but no, the sickness get all the blame because you have been sick. So we'll forgive you. All right. So while we were not live and we were chatting for the past 15 minutes, I have dropped some knowledge that I have to repeat. But I'll make it quick. So, one of the things I was talking with Brendan, which I thought I was talking to everyone about, was we're here to do portfolio reviews, but one of the things I wanted to make sure I get out early on is that you need somewhere to put your work to present it. The storytelling aspects of it is the most important thing. But if you somebody said you build portfolios if you want to show off to your friends, but you make connections if you want to get jobs, right? And that is, as controversial that might say, that is very, very true, because your portfolios are not the thing that gets you hired. Do they play a big factor? Sure, they play a role, but they're not the deciding factor most of the time when it comes to you getting a job. If you are interested in getting a job at company X, one thing I would recommend that everyone do, if you can, I know applying for work is almost a full-time job, but make some connection, reach out to these recruiters on LinkedIn or wherever they are, reach out to them, make an introduction, and then submit your work. And your work doesn't have to be in a very polished code from scratch portfolio. Use any tool that you're comfortable with, because the idea, you just want to have your links online, and then you just want to have it enough where you can tell a story and then see the work. So there's always going to be someone that has more impressive work, so you want to make sure you stand out, and the best way to stand out is by reaching out and then make that connection, so that the first time they see your name, it's not when they see your work. That said, you should still, if you can and you want to spend the time having a portfolio, absolutely do it. I'm not discouraging you from doing it, just saying if you want to get the job, there's sometimes a little bit of extra work that needs to go into that, and we can talk about that as we go to. So we are starting with this portfolio, and the only reason we're starting with this is really the focus is again on the case study itself. Is one that we've used before in this. What do you want to call this, Brendan? The sessions? I don't know.
previous previous sessions.
Yeah. So, like, and there's a lot of things in there that work really well, and sometimes it's just easier to see things visually as we walk through it. So one of the things that we say, both Brendan and I, we always mention is, if you're going to have a prototype, don't bury it. Put it right up front, because you put so much work into it. Why put it at the bottom where it might not get seen, right? So put that prototype up front, whether it's a video, whether it's a prototype button, just put the link up there, because instead of me going to static images, this is worth so much more. But that said, like, things that we look for on things like, the overview, very important. Tell me what the challenge was, tell me what the solution, and importantly, what your role was in that project, which this person did a really great job with. Keep it short. People don't read. Like, you don't need to write an essay. Just keep it brief, but tell a story. So that said, we can, like, there's a lot of things that happen here that are really, really nicely done. But the key thing I wanted to get out of there, like the things I did do really well, is the city. Like, I mean, prototype is up front. They tell you what they did. You don't have to follow this exact path and like how it's designed. You can do this exact thing, just design it however you please. But again, don't spend all your time working on your portfolio and not actually applying for a position and making connections. Like you want to do that, because that's how you get work. So now that we show that, and again, I'm gonna move a little bit fast because of reasons. We thought we were live. We went.
Sorry,
Yep.
guys.
So yeah, let's dive in. Things that are like, right off the bat, like I'm not gonna spend too much time on the overall of the site itself. I'm just gonna jump into the case studies, but I will point out things that I like as I scroll to. I love that there's an introduction. I like this is I like the videos. I mean, this is interesting. Like you have a video reel. Like, oh, one thing, if you're gonna have a video with music on it, if you can default it to start on mute, that would be greatly appreciated. To everyone that ever been in an office with speaker on loud, they will thank you for it. So yeah, this is great. If you're a motion designer, that makes sense. If you're not a motion designer, you probably don't want to spend too much time making a reel, because you're not a motion designer. But if you can, it doesn't hurt. But I'm just gonna click on a case study and dive into one. So exactly what we were talking about earlier, right? So this person is doing exactly that. Like, so right off the bat, they're like, hey, this is a real project, and here's a link to where you can check it out. Like, I might not actually download the app, but it's really, really nice that it's there. Like, if this was a website link, I would have clicked on it and go see that. Like, so this is what we're talking about. Like, the live version is worth 1,000 more. Another thing they're doing, which is exactly what we mentioned earlier in the previous portfolio, they told me what their role, whatever role they had in there, it's right up front. They told me what the project type, they told me the year. Like, these are like small little details that are like super, super vital as you scroll to give context to what we're about to look at. It's like cool visual. I'm interested in seeing and knowing more. The challenge, great. I love it. Love to see the challenge. Again, people don't read, and I don't like, necessarily will spend too much time trying to read everything, but just these little tidbits, like boom, this was the challenge. Um, Great, love it. I wish the solution was there. I don't see it, but like once I see the challenge, I would like to see the solution, so that way I have that in mind as I scroll to. But so it's just something to keep in mind. If you're gonna have the challenge, it's best to just put the solution right next to it, so we can kind of keep all that together. Great competitive analysis.
I think they do a really good job, especially with like the headlines to what's it called? The headlines to sub headlines, and then like I think Ethan just mentioned or commented in the chat, and this is something we were talking about with his portfolio the other day. Whatever content, because with portfolios, right? There's a tendency to want to tell a story, right? And then some people who are new to the game, they end up literally trying to write a story, right? And then it gets very difficult to distinguish what they're trying to write about, because we're not trying to read all that. So I think the way that they're chunking their information is really good on the positive side of things, and then the addition of what you're adding to it.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, like overall, like this there's definitely a lot of positive in here. So things I would say, like these kind of things always bug me, because updating soon, like if it's not ready, don't put it. Because if for example you looking for a position, and as a creative director I'm going to this, and this happened to be the only one I clicked on, and then I get here and I don't get to see everything, like it just says updating soon, you might have lost yourself an opportunity, right? So like when it comes to your portfolio, quantity doesn't matter as much as quality. So if you have one complete project, just lead with that, and just don't put anything that's not ready for to be seen. So updating soon, you don't need that part. Like just update it when you have it, like, because most of the time we're not coming back to look at this, so it doesn't, like, I understand where you're coming from, but you might not need it. Just it's telling me like, oh, what you see now is not done, so I'm like, you know what I mean, like, so it's okay to still be working on it, but you just don't need to say that there's more, like you don't need to put that part at the bottom. But yeah, overall I think there's a lot of things, like some of these, like it gets a little, like I think some of the organization in this, like in terms of like maybe narrow things down a little bit to make it a little bit easier. It gets a little zigzagging in terms of like the case study, like you have like things going here, you have things going there, and then you have things like, I don't think those are adding any more to your design. Like I think if you just structure it a little bit more linear, it would help, and just kind of like box things in a little bit. Maybe there's a place you can use colors. I'm not sure how important it is to have your mood board. Like I understand like where the inspiration came from, but I don't think you need a whole section just dedicated to your mood board. So to me, there's just a couple of things. It took me a while to get to the final design, which is great, but you have that video over here. Like it could have been a bit further up, because I was scrolling, I'm scrolling. So first you got my interest with this link, which was great. And then I think this poster looks good, but then it took so long for me to actually see the final design, where like these colors, it's a little big, and that's a lot. You really don't need to put the entire color palette. So I think overall, like, just so I want to keep it short. So overall, like the everything is great. I just think you just need a little bit of reshuffle and a little bit like narrow down that story a little bit, just kind of like shorten it a little and just get to the point a little bit faster. You don't need to stretch out your portfolio. Again, quality over quantity, right? So this video is great. Move it up further up. You can get rid of some of the other stuff, because that video will say, like, I don't need to see your mood board. The color palette you can shorten. That video you have at the bottom will tell me all of that without doing all of this. But in terms of like, what Brendan said, I do agree. Like, there's definitely a lot of good stuff going on here.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's definitely, from a design perspective, I think it's very strong for sure.
Yeah.
But before we move to the next one, Tonton, because while you were going through that, I was double checking to see who here was live that submitted a portfolio. And so what I think would be really awesome that we do, if you're okay with it, I've updated the next 3. If you go to, do you still have that document that I set, the Google Doc?
I closed it, but I do have
Okay.
the
I can
thingy.
send it to you.
No, I just tell me the name. I can go to based on that.
Okay. Katarina is the next one.
I guess tell me the URL.
URL is Kate Polyakov. Kate Polyakov. Here, let's just do this.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the link in our video chat. Yeah, pull that up, and I have the next couple ones lined up for us.
Okay.
So Katarina is number 2, Ethan will be 3rd, and then Levant will be 4.
Okay, did you send the link?
Yes, sir. I've dropped it in our what is it? Our control room where we have the video all set up.
Okay. All right. So got it. Got you.
You got it?
Got it.
All right, perfect.
Yep.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. So we do this one. And as always, like we go into these fast, there's not always gonna be as much time to really dive into every little details into these, but we can figure out a way to, like, if you want to get more, like, feedback, we can figure out a way to do that. But we're just trying to get to everyone as many people as we can. Cool animation.
That was pretty cool.
Right? I kept scrolling on it. It's awesome.
We didn't even want to continue. We were like, skirt, 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 skirt. We were trying to do a DJ thing. That's really cool.
Right.
And Katarina is actually not far from me. Frederick is like 45 minutes away, I think. We're neighbors.
Yeah. Oh, hello. A lot of cool stuff here. So I'm curious if you have 2022, why not start with your latest as opposed to 2021? Is because I'm just curious. Not saying there's a right or wrong way to do this. Just I'm just gonna click on this one since you have it first. You must be very proud of it. Cool. Yes. Nice. And something I like, I always say, oh, like, nice. So something I also say, like, like if you're gonna like the top of the project, just kind of like give a teaser, right? Like give me an idea of what to expect. So this is, again, I like this, like just start with a visual. If you a designer, we designers, we like to see things with pictures. That's why we don't read. Well, I speak for myself, but that's why no one is reading the content, because we're looking at the pretty pictures, right? So that's why I choose to be a designer, not a writer. But yeah, so having like some strong design in the beginning, like, is really good. And obviously, anytime you can put anything on a mock-up, that goes a long way. It really helps. Okay, so the wall, important. The year, good.
We got
See
our prototype.
We got a prototype, and we look for them. So you
They're
must,
listening.
like, right?
No,
This is great.
They probably already had it set up. Katarina's like, y'all didn't even. I just know.
She's like, I've been doing this since y'all were in the crib. But no, this is what we're talking about. Like, if you going to do this, just have a prototype. But I would have one tiny feedback. I was like, maybe use an updated phone on your prototype. Why not keep it with the latest? But that's just nitpicking here. Yeah, I never go back and update my portfolio, so don't listen to me.
Tonton just throws money in the air and just has somebody do. Where it's just like good guys never look at explosions, or like badasses never look at explosions. Basically, what Tonton does is he throws money behind him. Someone catches it and does things for him. That's what happens.
That is not true. I wish it was, but it's not. But yeah, this is great though. This is really, really strong. Like I just want to come here, like I just want to click on the prototype. I want to get a feel for what you did, and then from there on, like then if have interest, then I want to read more on what you solve. What did you solve? How did you solve it? And I love that you have the solution. I love how like how big everything is. Like I don't know, like I just like big type. That's just a personal thing.
Oh, and the
But
prototype follows.
yes, this is what I'm saying. Like, like, and then I love that. Like, as soon as I see the prototype, like, you tell me the goal of the project, and you tell me what the solution was, and then I got the prototype to go and see that solution in action, right? So this is really, really nicely done. Um, yeah, like, I mean, I
Catalina's
know,
gonna take our jobs, guys.
right? Like, I don't like skulljacking, but I'll allow this one. It's short enough where I'm not like, don't skulljack me, not the bus of me. Um, yeah, this is really really nice. You know, like obviously one feedback I have, like, as much as I love like um all of like the little things, I think the copy can be a little bit less and maybe distributed a little bit more evenly. Like it's just a lot of chunks of copy, and then as I mentioned many times before, like people are not reading um as much. Like for example, like in here, like you have the design system, yes they look great, but can you elaborate a little bit more on it? Like, so you can just have like smaller chunks of copy. I would love to know like a little bit about this design system. You don't have to go into like full detail, just a little blurb about, you know, a little whys. Like, oh, this is why we did this. And then you just move on. You can keep it very short, but I'm seeing a lot of this, but you're not really giving me a lot of context unless I read this entire blob, which, like I said, um, we typically don't read. But point to you for having a prototype. So 10 point to Gryffindor.
And the
All right.
mock-ups just make me sweat. But anyway, yeah, in the chat, ASP says this is so wowie. I had to put it up again.
I,
It's just
I have to agree. It's really really nicely done. Like there's a few things here and there that I think you can improve on, but with a little bit of adjustment, like this is really strong. But remember what I said earlier, and as we keep looking to these portfolios, you're gonna notice like, wow, this person's work is great, but that's not the determining factor for getting a job. Like the work is strong, but can you interview? Did you do you know how to, like, did you reach out to anyone at that company? Like, can you make connections? Can you be like, there's just so much more to getting job. Like, yes, you need a strong portfolio, the work needs to be there, but it's not everything. Like you could have done this and Notion, and then I'm not getting paid from Notion. I use Notion. I love Notion, so I always say it. Like you could have set this whole thing up on Notion, and it still would have had the same impact. The storytelling aspect would still have been there. Everything, all this really nice eye candy looking pieces would still have existed in Notion or any other tool that you use to put it together. But that's the important part I want to get out of, like, because I know as designers sometimes we spend so much time trying to craft the perfect portfolio that we never finish it, and it's just always a work in progress, and it's never done, and we never feel like we're ready to actually start doing things. So make connections, that's important. Hello, Ethan.
yes. Let me get a swig of that water.
Hey, I need some water, man. I mean, can you, like, he's just Ethan is shining so bright. It's like the sun. It burned me. I had to take a sip of water. Uh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
Creepers left and right, goes like crazy. Everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and things.
And I'm really curious to see what you have to say about Ethan's portfolio. We were trying to, this week on Wednesday, we were giving him some pointers. He updated some things, but I'm interested also to hear. Okay, he's added some mock-ups.
All right, got the
To
mark.
see what
I
you
will.
got.
I will say right off the bat, and I apologize in advance. Like the mock-ups, yes, it's great to have them, but they are a little choppy. Like you can still see the white outline, and I think you can find free mock-up that you will not have to Photoshop, or go to like UI8, and there's places where you can find like higher fidelity versions of these, like so that way you don't have to Photoshop, because you can kind of still see the outline. And again, take this in mind, like this is just about the work. This is not a point on you personally, but like this type of thing, like when you see that, it hurts. It hurts you more than it helps you, right? So it's like little, like it's like those people that say, like on their resume, like attention to details, and then they misspell details. Like it's like not a good look, right? So like little things like this, like yes, it's good to have backup, but you want to make sure you get high fidelity. um is that the word, high fidelity or high quality,
Yeah.
whatever?
And I also will add this because he's changed this since Wednesday, and I can, even though it can be better, this is much better than what was there Wednesday. So I
Hey,
also want to, you were
yeah,
getting there.
that's great. And because progress takes time, and in as you that's why we're here, right? We're trying to get better. And I, even now, like I'm still finding things in my own work that needs to be improved. And another thing I always say, like if you did something like 3 months ago, and you look back at it and it's still the best thing you've done, then you have not improved in 3 months, which is not a good thing. So it's okay to
Yeah.
constantly be making everything that you do better. Like that's completely okay. And you'll get better by putting yourself out there. So Ethan, I want to say, like thanks for actually showing your work. That's something I know I said a lot. Like when I first started, I was terrified of other people seeing my work. So just putting it out there and willing to get feedback, that's how you get better, that's how you improve. And I appreciate you for doing so. um yeah, so I would say one thing, like I would definitely like trim down the copy in here. I think, as you can see in the other one, how like you can have the timeline, you can have your role, but right now the problem is, like, because the font size, there's a little bit of lack of hierarchy. Like it says project, everything is kind of like blending into each other a little bit. So one thing you could do is just pick a, it can be the same typeface, just make one of, use bold for, like, your project timeline, make that bold, and then just keep this one regular, so that way it's easier to kind of like skin this. Because right now it just kind of blend in, and it just feels like a lot of copy, but when in reality it's not. It's just, this whole section just feels like a whole paragraph when it's really not. So I would just kind of like go in there and just tweak some of these a little bit. So make this bold, so that way I can tell, okay, project timeline, your role, main takeaway, the challenge, which is, you have all of that. It just need a little bit of tweak in terms of the thing. So I would say, I think, like one challenge in here for me, like usually when you start with, because remember when I said, like, people don't read, like, and you don't want to start with the bad first. It's not always a good impression, because if I see that I think that's the one you did, and it's not the one you did, it might just be like, huh. So if you're going to do that, you either want to have it side by side, be like, new and then original, or something like that, which is, it's not a bad thing to have the original. But like when you're spending so much time diving into the old one, like it's taking so long for me to actually see the improved version, like that might end up hurting you a little bit, right? So that would just be something to keep in mind. But I think overall, like I think they just need some, like the site, it's it's coming along. It just need to kind of like, we need to trim down some of the copy, and just kind of like overall navigation of it. I think you have a lot of copy, which is great, but again, people don't read. I know I might sound repetitive, but it's just the reality of it. Um, so yeah, I would trim it down a little bit, and just think more of like a structure and how you want to tell the story, right? Because right now, like it's hard for me to follow the story that you're trying to say. But I tell you what, Ethan, like I'm on Discord. Like if you reach out, like we can potentially find some times and kind of like dive a little bit deeper, and to trying to help you really tell a better story, if that makes sense. Does that sound good?
Yeah, and that sounds perfect. And a lot of what you're saying is just kind of a reiteration of what we talked about on Wednesday too. I do see some of the changes that he has, but I think that I don't. It's hard to explain kind of what I mean by this, but maybe we can go back to Yushavi's or whatnot. to kind of explain the
I have it closed.
because there's storytelling, and then how do we say this? And I
I
apologize,
think
guys. Like
I think I know what you're
storytelling.
saying. Like, so you want to tell the story, but you don't have to tell the story to words only.
Yeah.
Like, you're a designer, so you tell the story to images and some words here and there, but you can still tell a story. Like, the goal, like, and I think, like, we can kind of explain what we mean by storytelling is like, okay, like any good story has an introduction, and you want to develop that story a little bit in the main second, and then you want to have a conclusion. So like the way you tell the story is like, okay, here's the problem, here's kind of like how we're going to potentially solve that problem. I mean, and you dive in how you solved it by showing what you did to solve the problem, and then you conclude it by saying like, well, this helped increase profit by 120,000, and you're like, oh, that's great. Like, so that's kind of like what we mean by telling a story. But like, but each story is different. So yours, like, might be slightly different story, but you want to do it not just by writing words because you are a designer. You want to tell the story by using your craft. If you're a motion designer, you use motion. If you're a web designer, like, use your work to tell the story without having to rely too much on just actually using too much copy. Um, if that helps, Brendan.
Yeah, no, that totally helps. And I'll say this last thing because I said we talked about it on Wednesday. When you guys read, whether it's BuzzFeed, whether it's a newsletter, whether it is some sort of written format article, really pay attention because that is design. How they are curating their content, it's designed copy, designed so that you're able to. That's why we have the terminology. We're in the age of headline reading. People read a headline and be like, "Did you know that Chat GPT is being overtaken by Google?" Like, and then they didn't even read the article, but like in their mind, they believe that is the nugget that they got. So if you can design your portfolio to be almost synonymous with allowing somebody to read it with as much ease and understanding as a BuzzFeed article or some sort of article that you probably engage with on a daily, that will make your portfolio a lot more readable. And there's a lot of power in headings, subheadings, and making sure that your subheadings give that full chunk that you want the person to understand in that long ass thing of copy that you have underneath of it. So if you can get them to understand what you're trying to say just with your headlines, that they can do in just a matter of 5 seconds scrolling, that's perfect. So anyways, tried to button that up, but we can roll into the next one. Sorry, Tonton.
No, you're right. I was already into the next one. I'm just that gave me a chance to take a look and be able to kind of like get the point that I'm trying to give them across faster.
Inhale it a little bit. Get
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think like the first thing I would say like in here looking in I think Levin. Sorry if I get your name wrong. I will. Everybody gets my name wrong, so I try to do my best to not butcher other people's name, but it still happened. So I'm gonna click on one of the project, and then so the first thing I would say, like right off the bat, just go into this. It's too long. Like it's really, 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 really long case study, and I understand like probably why this is happening. You just feel like the challenge with designing for ourselves as designers, right? Like we spend so much time crafting this thing, and it becomes our kid essentially. It's like a baby, right? And we want to tell the world like every little details and every effort that we put into it. But the problem is like the world doesn't have time to, because there's a lot of different people with a lot of babies that do amazing things. So yes, it's our baby. We think it's the greatest of all time, but it's just too much information can become overwhelming, and they don't even like you're losing the people by just having too much information. I think in here this is a case of that. Like it's really hard for me to know what you want me to focus on just because there's just so much information. And then you have like which I like these ideas of just like having the big stats. But then I keep seeing things like estimated matrix, and I'm like, what does that mean? Right? Like 15%, 40% of what? Like so it's as good as like I think it's a little bit overwhelming with information. And I think this is a case where like I wish you had a prototype, or you would show me a little bit more of like the final solution in what you solve. And then by having the problem all the way at the bottom also doesn't help, because I went through so much just to come to this point. Like, so I have no context of what I'm looking for. What were you trying to solve? So in keeping this short, I think like it's like you need to separate the copy from the design, and then for the portion where you have the design, make the design shine a little bit more. Like, just let it breathe, let it just take a big portion and just let it be big and beautiful, because you put so much work into the small details that you want to tell me about it, but you don't have to tell me about it. If you just let me see it, it will speak for itself, right? And they say great design is transparent, but when we're looking at these things, we see them. Like, we've seen enough to know what's good and what's bad, so you don't have to oversell it. And I think this is a case of that. Like, even this section, you could shorten it. So I would take a second look and really shorten the copy in here. Remove things that I feel like is not necessarily, like, you probably could get rid of. Competitive analysis, like, yeah, everybody have one of these. I never find any use for them, so maybe this is one of those you trim down a little bit. Yeah, so there's some trimming that needs to happen in here. It's a lot to take in. Like, there's just a lot of things happening. Anything to add, Brendan?
I'm not gonna lie and say I was paying attention, because I was paying attention to the comments and answering questions there.
No, that's fair. That's fair. We can circle back. You can take a look at it.
We're tag teaming things. I'm getting the comments, letting you do your thing, and I'm
Yeah.
literally manning three screens right now.
No,
Like
you're
Batman.
good. No, you're good. Yeah, thanks, Bat. But yeah, I think, like, for this project, I think it just need to be shortened, and not just shortened for the sake of shortened. Just really, I want you to really think about the story you want me to get out, but you want anyone to get out of the project, and I want you to, like, do an outline of it, right? Just write it down, like just bullet list, right? Okay, what do you want people to get out of? Like, 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 points, right? And then just really then tell that story with just that. Like, just shorten it, like, write it down, do an outline version of it, like, or something. But you just really, like, I think you're trying to tell too much all at once, and then it's just not coming across. Like, I think you lost a little bit of it, and I understand, like, especially if you're applying for a UX position, you feel like you just really need to tell more. But yeah, I think that would be my main feedback. And yeah, I think even I click on a second one, right? Like, even those, like for example, love that you can sketch, but you don't need to put that in there. Like, this is, leave something to talk about on the when you actually get that interview, right? Don't just give everything away. It's like dating, right? Like, you don't, I mean, to each their own, but you typically, like, you don't want to just give everything away. Like, when I was dating my now wife, like, I was in my best behavior the whole time. Now that we're married, now it's a different story, right? So it's like, so it's a case of that, like, just save a little something to talk about during the interview process. But overall, like, I think you have good stuff. It just need to be shorter, and let's get to the point a little bit faster, like I need to do with my feedback. See, I'm very self-aware. All right. I like that there's an about me right on the bat. That's my name.
Just to give you some calm, we don't have to go super fast. Like, this honestly could be our last one. I think everybody that was in the chat live here, like, we covered all their portfolios, which I think is awesome.
Okay, that's great.
So this can be the last one, and we can just move the other ones to the next segment. These sessions, because we're trying to get a little bit tighter, even though we were late today. Apologize on that front, but we're really trying to. Tonton has very limited time, so we're trying to have very few slots for these portfolio reviews. But we also have every Wednesday, regardless of that we have Tonton or not, we have slot of 25 people that can join us in Discord, who can continue to, like, if you guys got feedback here from Tonton, come on Wednesdays in our design and chat sessions, and we'll kind of continue to review what you guys have done in your portfolio and work on what you're trying to progress to every Wednesday. So use what you're getting here from watching other people's portfolios as well as your own if you are here live, and then just come to every Wednesday's design and chat. That's a 4 to 5 hour session. So anyways, just wanted to drop that for those who are kind of watching and being like, I dropped mine in here, why didn't it get reviewed? Because you weren't here. All right,
Yeah.
take it away.
No, that's great. I peeped in the chat real quick while we were talking, and then I'm sorry, I keep pronouncing. He's like, this is one of my shortest projects. I regret. I gotta rethink this a little. I'm like, man, if this is your shortest, like, please send me a link to your longest.
Wait,
Like, I gotta see that. Like, I mean, man, you gotta become a writer. Like, we gotta get together. You gotta write some stuff for me. Like,
that takes like some serious.
I love it. Like, this is fun. It's like it's like this is one of my shoulders. I was like, wow, you're a writer. Maybe you in the wrong career, man. All right, so mini mighty mo. I don't know what to click on. All right, I'm gonna go with the one in the middle. Okay, so the person is not there, and I didn't read most of it, but I would tell you one thing, and I don't have a problem with it. And I know I say it all the time, but like this portfolio really scream bootcamp to me, and
Yes.
you want to avoid that, right? Because like the fact that I can scroll to before I even read, I'm like, oh, were you in a bootcamp? Like, which is, there's nothing wrong with going to a bootcamp, which I think is great. Like, it's if you get a chance to go and you get to do some design thing, just like they just have, like, they give everyone the exact same pretty much booklet on how to set up a portfolio, and then the same work, the same project, and you see so many portfolio where it's the same exact thing all the time that it do you more of a disservice than it helps. It's good to go to the bootcamp. It's good to get the knowledge. It's good because they have some good nuggets, but I would also say you can just find some good YouTubers online that can give you as much, but I digress. That said,
Tell us how you really feel.
I'm not going there. But like, that's it. I would say, like, this just have that very bootcamp feel to it, where like it makes it feel like, I can look at 10 other portfolio. They probably all have a very similar layout, a very similar way of playing. If you did go to a bootcamp, I urge you, please, really don't have to do exactly everything they tell you to do in there. Look at the people that actually in the industry. Look at, like, find people that you can consider some sort of find mentors. They don't have to know they're your mentors. You just follow them and read everything they do. By definition, that's a mentor. Like, look at people, like, find somebody that you really love the work and be inspired by the work and trying to look up to them, instead of like just doing exactly what you learn out of the bootcamp. Because the problem with those things is, like, everyone's portfolio that came out looks and feel very, very similar, and it does you a disservice. So in here, my feedback would be, like, it's great that you have something on the top. Like, I saw that you had a link at the bottom that I think there was a prototype. There's a prototype here. It's too far. Like, just move it up there. There's a lot of things I would probably get rid of. Again, I never, like, no one's gonna hire you because you're great at sketching, right? So you really don't need the sketch unless you're going for an illustration role. Then of course, like, I can tell you, I don't know how to sketch. I don't, like, my sketches are trash, but that's the thing, like, they make sense to me, and that's all that matters. I'm not sketching to present to anyone else but myself. So you really don't need to put your sketches on your thing. Your wireframes are also not necessary, especially when you have the final products. So I think what I would do in here is just really go back and just removing things that are absolutely unnecessary. There's nothing impressive about a persona. Every persona I've ever seen looks exactly the same. With photo, stock photo, some about, like, you don't need to put the persona. You can just have a blurb about who your target audience is and skip the big old picture of the persona. Yeah, these right here, like, literally, I tells me nothing. I can't even click on it. I'm sorry. Um, like, I don't know what that is. We all do the sticky note thing, like, cool, but it's not really adding anything to your portfolio. So get rid of it. Seriously, just get rid of it. Get rid of the persona. Uh, the user flows. The prototype is already doing that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I click on the prototype, I know how to flow. Like, cool, you can go in a program that can help you make connect dots. Like, it's, again, it's not vital. You don't need that on your portfolio. Get rid of the sketches. Get rid of, like, these are just you stretching out your portfolio for the sake of stretching it out, and then it's just taking longer to get to the things that we need to get to, which is the work, the problem, the solution, understand your thinking and how you approach things and solving it. That's the stories you want to tell, not I know how to sketch, um, which is great. So, not knocking this, great work, just need to be shorter and then just getting to the point a little bit faster. That's all I got.
That's beautiful, man. And let's kind of what's it called? I would love to close out because I know a lot of people who will be rewatching this. We do have a lot of students in our communities, and I think it's really important. And Tonton, you just got to let me know when you have to slip.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's challenging, especially if we kind of put the students and the boot camp people, they don't know what they don't know, right? They're going through it's basically like going through school. Someone tells you this is the right way and you believe them because you're like, I just paid you some money, and I don't know what I don't know. So you're supposed to be the thought leader, the person helping me go in the right direction. And I think there's a couple things that we need to distinguish here, and it's the boot camp sort of portfolio, what that type of portfolio is supposed to, I think, show people like us, the people who are looking to hire, right? And I think there's a semi difference between people who are looking for junior roles and people who are a little bit the transitioners, right? Let's say
Yeah.
Tom or Sally or whomever is in their 30s, they're looking to transition from like biomed, and they're not trying to go from 30 years old, it maybe six figures, trying to get a junior design position. There, because there's a possibility of being in the biomedical field, having that business knowledge, gaining UI UX skills, and because you have business knowledge in medical, and now you have the technical skill set of a UI UX designer, you could actually be put in as just a regular product or UI UX designer, not a junior level. What these boot camp portfolios, and you can add into this, Tonton, I think it's important to dive into this. The portfolio boot camps, how they make you structure, kind of make you look as if you're going to be applying for junior roles, and it sets you up to be like, okay, because when you're a junior, what the person who's trying to hire you is trying to understand is, oh, okay, this person has no UI UX experience, and I need to be able to feel confident that they know what user flows are, personas, all those things. So that's why the boot camps set you up like that, because it gives somebody who is looking possibly for entry level positions that you understand the fundamentals. What me and Tonton are trying to explain is for the upper echelon, basically trying to push you guys in the direction of the upper echelon designer stuff. So we see what you guys are doing here. A lot of you guys have really good fundamentals, and we want to continue to push your portfolios in the direction of, as you advance in your career, it should look like this. This is what equals not a good portfolio, but as you improve as a designer, this is what your portfolio should look like. So that's kind of
Yeah.
recontextualizing.
Yeah, I think you put it nicely. But for me, like, I think another way to think of it, right? Like, the boot camp is just, it's just a stepping stone, and that's all it is. It's like, you know you go there to get the knowledge, which is great, because some people just need a school kind of like environment to really be able to do anything. But the work that you do in there, because remember, all your peers did the same work, right? So when you get out, to give yourself an advantage, like you probably want to just maybe you can take that knowledge that you gain from there and just do something else and then reshape your portfolio. Just because the remember what we talk about, right? Like, you don't need to have a portfolio to get the job. Like, you want to get connections, you want to get these things. Those are the important steps. All right. So you want to be able to stand out. The goal of it is just being able to stand out, right? Like, so, but the problem with those boot camps portfolios is that they tend to just very monolithic, right? Like, they all look exactly the same. Like, you see it, you know it, which is a problem because it doesn't help you. Because everyone that came out of that course have the exact same work that you have. So when it comes across the desk, they probably already seen 10 other different version of that. So even as a junior designer, I would urge you, yes, we're not gonna judge you in the same level that we would like a mid or senior level designer. But even if you are a junior designer, we still urge you to just go to the bootcamp for the knowledge, but then take that and apply it to other stuff and really reshape your portfolio. Because if you're going to have one, it should reflect you, not your instructor, not even me who's telling you what you should or should do and shouldn't do in your portfolio. Like that, at the end of the day, like, it's just like we give you, like, it's Lego pieces. We give you the Legos, you decide what to build with it. Yes, like, the pieces should still fit. They are going to fit into this one thing, but at the end of the day, it's your portfolio. It should reflect you as a person, right? So the bootcamp portfolio does not reflect you. It reflects everyone that took the same course as you, which is they all follow the same script. Like, I don't have a. It might sound like I have a problem with bootcamps, which I don't, and I don't want it to come across that way.
An
But
ulterior motive.
like, I really
Today's
don't,
sponsor is Springboard.
right? Which I really don't. I really don't have a problem because I do think, like, I mean, personally, I think, like, school and like, I mean, I went to design school, but I wouldn't recommend anyone going to design school if you don't have to go to design school, because when I went to design school, we didn't have as many, like, resources out there. Aging myself a bit more, but now, like, there's just so many resources out there for everyone, so you can take advantage of those things. But that said, I think I don't have a problem with boot camp. I think if you do go there, just think of it as like, okay, it's just like any other class project. Everyone did the same thing. Now that I'm applying for job, maybe I take that knowledge and then just apply it to something else so I can make myself stand out. So when my portfolio come across it, I'll be like, oh, another one of those. So that's all that is. No love hate with boot camps.
I think that's a really important wrap up, and I mean that's why every one of these sessions, guys, we constantly repeat, or rather, Tonton constantly repeats, what are the three main things that we as hiring managers need to know? It's what is it that I'm looking at? What is the challenge? What is the solution? And
Yep.
can I see a prototype? That's like a 3.5. It's kind of like, what am I looking at? That's kind of what the portfolio is. But it's those main things, and it's how you design the information that communicates to us effectively what those three things are. And so, just to recap today, the three things that we started off with: what are we looking at? What was the challenge that started this project? What was the solution? And give us a taste of what that prototype is. And on top of that, if you guys are able to, when we forever in the future talk about story, think about the newsletters you guys subscribe to, the BuzzFeed articles that you read, and just understand that the way that those are written, the headings, the subheadings, they are designed in a way to where we don't even have to read the article. We can just read the headlines and have chunks of information to understand and go talk about and gossip with our friends. So
Yep.
we want to have the same effect with our portfolios. So take those three things that we talked about. What am I looking at? What is the challenge? What is the solution? And then everything that comes after that, try to create your own little BuzzFeed article with headings, subheadings, and the chunks that you want people to take away from those headings, or what you want them to understand in chunk form. Utilizes those your headings. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. I mean, with
I-
that being said, go ahead. Yeah,
I-
yeah. You
no,
can
I-
close out.
Yeah. I just have one more thing because I saw like there was a really good question in the channel. I just feel like I just really want to answer
Oh,
it.
please do. Yeah.
Somebody said like, if I'm still working on my site, at which point in the design journey should I seek feedback? Which is a really great question, right? Um, and well, it's up to you. That's honestly the best answer. It's like, when do you feel comfortable seeking feedback? I've like when I was a junior designer, I was always terrified to get feedback. But now that I'm higher up, I'm always more like checking early and often type of person. Like if I'm like struggling with anything, I'm like, you know what? Let me get fresh eyes on it. Sometimes that fresh eye can be you. Take a break from it and come back. Again, I want to stress this. Your portfolio should be something you do. It should be fun, right? You shouldn't over stress yourself to the point where you're like, I don't have a portfolio, I cannot apply for job. Yes, you can absolutely apply for job without a portfolio, just as long as you have somewhere for people to see the work. So early and often, or whenever you feel comfortable. That said, we're wrapping up. This was amazing. Always happy to be here. We on Discord. I'll let Brendan do that part.
And guys, please, all right, Jaslin, I have to gas you up, guys. Jaslin is, as you guys seen here, he's more amazing one-on-one as well. If you guys want to have actual deep dives, we're grazing the surface on this. Jaslin has one-on-ones available. They are paid. You guys will have to talk about that one-on-one. He is available on LinkedIn, and all the other of his social medias are down in the links down below, so you guys can follow him on all social medias. But please, if you guys are serious about your not just your portfolio, but the progression of your career, which is what you're investing in, Tonton is he's seen some things. All right, guys. So it's like he said, it's important to find a mentor who's been on the path that you are trying to also be on, so that they can keep you in the lane and also let you know what you're going to come up against, so that life is a little bit easier. So Jaslin, thank you so much for hanging out with us today with all the technical difficulties. Again, you guys don't forget to like this video. Again, reminders. Jaslin, actually I don't want to keep you, so I'm gonna I just want to say thank you, and you can have any final words if you have any, and then we'll close out the stream with some of our community announcements, unless you want to stay for that.
No, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brendan, as always, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And you know, as a final word, I think it takes a lot of courage to submit a portfolio and have it be reviewed live while other people are watching. So that takes courage, and I really do appreciate anyone and everyone that did that. So I will see you all in 2 weeks, right? Is that correct?
I believe so. It should be on the it's the 20 something. It's not
27.
next week, so it's let me see.
27. 27.
Is it the I hope it's the 27th. Let's hope.
All right, we'll figure this out. We'll do it live.
It's the 24th. 24th.
24. All right, close enough.
Yes.
All right.
Cool beans. All right, Jaslin. Take it easy.
All right.
Bye. All right, guys. We're closing out. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Again, I want to preface to you, in our Discord every Wednesday, a lot of you guys I know have come so far. But for those who are probably watching the replay, every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. EST, we have basically what we call Design and Chat. And first come, first serve, we help you guys with portfolios, understanding how to transition into design, resumes, how to use EditorX, which is a no-code platform that you can create your portfolio in with templates. Easy, it's responsive, and you don't have to deal with any code. So there's that. But thank you guys for hanging out. Juan, Grav, JT, Lee. Who else do we have in here today? And I'm also going to take a peek at some of it. We had Levan, we had Ethan. I know we had hey, Jeremiah was here. I totally missed that, man. We had Katarina. Thank you guys for hanging out. And let me just very quickly look at what you guys have mentioned. But yeah, Grav, to be honest, my last interview for the hiring crew there did not care about my portfolio, just wanted to know about my work style UX designer. Got you. Yeah, so I mean, just as a recap, like as Tonton said, there are not everything is the portfolio. The portfolio is just a tool to kind of very quickly communicate your skill level and a few other things to the person who has the potential to hire you. But there's also, how are you as a person, your portfolio, your experience, and are you capable of solving the problems that they have internally at the company. That's what they're going to try to figure out. And do they like you as a person? So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Ralph Finger says, I was just lurking. Hey, what's going on, man? Glad you were lurking. Hopefully you have enjoyed this. And yeah, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I hope to see you guys in the Discord. If you are not part of the Discord, you guys can find the links to that down in the description. But this is your boy, Brandon Groce, signing out. Have a good day, have a good Friday, and have a great weekend, my friends. Take it easy. Bye.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and tuning into this episode of Real Talk, brought to you by EditorX, the world's most powerful no-code web design platform for designers and creatives alike. If you want to watch more amazing videos like this, check out our playlist down in the description with all of our Real Talk episodes, including other educational videos like EditorX tutorials. And also, do not forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notified each week when we go live, and of course, if you feel so inclined, don't forget to smash the like button because it helps us reach more creatives like yourself each and every day. With that said, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. With that said, Brandon Groce, out.
Barely half of your pace, slowing things down when I want to race. Pitching up again when you're trying to chase. Feels like we're playing in space. Always find a way to make up, right? Even when